Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are author Mary Kavanaugh and artist Lucie Abdalian. You'll see Lucie's work on the set today. Mary Patrick Kavanaugh was born and raised in San Diego. She has a Bachelor of Arts in History from San Francisco State and a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from the University of San Francisco. On her way to being the author of Family Plots, Love, Death, and Tax Evasion, Mary has had a wide range of jobs. You started writing when you were 8, Mary. What took you so long to get to where you are now?
I don't know, and I started writing dark comedies at 8 too. My mother handed me my first award-winning story, and it was about the slow death of a turkey one Thanksgiving day.
Oh my gosh!
I know. I was trying to be funny then with dark humor.
But did you publish any of those things?
I've done a lot of publishing of small pieces, but it was once I was a grown-up, not in the 8 to 16 set. Didn't do it then.
No.
Wrote a lot of stories.
Let's talk about all those jobs.
Okay.
You were an Avon lady.
I was an Avon lady.
Do they still have Avon?
Do
they still have Avon ladies?
I'm not an Avon lady anymore, so I don't keep up with the profession. But I have run into catalogs in bathrooms and dentist offices. So
maybe.
I think it's happening. I think Avon is surviving this economic disaster we're all experiencing.
So when Family Plots comes out in a screenplay, you can use the Avon lady. What else did you do? Because I think you have a long list of funny things.
Oh, I did make a list of funny things. I have a very eclectic career path. I went from Avon lady to selling air conditioners door to door to being a secretary for a dirty old man to being to then finding my way into college and a more traditional path in a career. But I'm not exactly a traditional girl, so I pursued private investigation.
But is that what you were going to do?
I ultimately got went to work for private investigators, and I got my investigator's license, yes.
Well, one thing you're doing now is writing grants, something like that?
No,
or what is it?
Now what I do is my brother and I launched a program. When my book was rejected, and I which we'll talk about, and then it ultimately got published. My brother brought me on to launch a program because I'm a fun and wild event planner. Thus, I had the funeral event, and my background's in marketing and investigation and programming. So we launched a program at UCI essentially for business leaders and social entrepreneurs and philanthropists to come together and talk about challenging topics. So it's a private membership organization through the university.
But what kind of topics?
We talk about everything from stem cell research to Islamic terrorism and the economy, investments.
All kinds of people
everything.
Belong to that too?
Primarily, like I said, it's the business people, philanthropists, and people who are very interested in social enterprise, finding profitable ways to solve some of the serious problems of our times.
But it's not a part of the university, is it?
Part of the business school.
Oh, it is. Mm-hmm. Can you start that project at different schools?
I would love to. Joan said it to God's ears,
because
to the world.
It's very interesting. And
I would like to start it. I'd like to start it throughout the UC system. But this is our prototype. We're in our second year of programming, and we're very excited about
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great
because
job.
You always talk about think tanks, and only certain people can be a part of a think tank.
Right.
But you can involve all kinds of people from the community.
Right, and we actually make a point of having an eclectic group and bringing together people who don't agree with one another to expand the horizons.
Yeah, that's what
My brother's belief is that in Orange County everybody's talking to themselves, so he wanted to bring in more of a mix of different opinions so there could be possibly more debate. And I come from the Bay Area.
I was just going to say, you can say that because you come from the Bay Area. You can't live in Orange County if you say that.
And the funny thing is, in the process of this job, I decided I cannot live in Orange County. I bring a certain new perspective, I think, down there. And it works well for me and my brother.
So you come back and forth.
I do.
Okay, let's talk about this book. How long did it take you to write it?
So long. So long. After a series of personal tragedies, 3 deaths in my family, I was at the deathbed of my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and husband, and I was just...
You're kidding.
No, I was just stunned at the end of it all, and I was actually off with my brother, my older brother, on a trip. He took me on a trip because I was completely fried from this whole... and grieving from this whole experience. I really held the hands of each of these people, and it was the end of a line of a family. And each of them I was very close to, and they all were keeping secrets from one another and confiding in me. They were all hiding things from one another.
And you were the kind of the neutral person? You were the wife, the daughter-in-law?
The repository of secrets. And although I found out my husband was hiding things from me. So I was telling my brother this, and he said, you've been writing your whole life, and you've always wanted to write a book. And you essentially just gave me a narrative arc. And I thought, bing! The light bulb went off, and so I started writing the book after my husband died. And
so you just started. So how long did it actually take?
So I started in 1999, and then it launched. When was it? 2008. So the writing of the book probably took about 5 years.
And how did you physically write it? You had all these stories, of course, that you had in your mind. Were they down somewhere?
No, they weren't down.
It's not. Is it totally autobiographical?
No, absolutely not. I call it a work of pulp faction.
Okay, so some of it's facts.
Yeah, some of it's facts, and
of course, as an author, you have to build your first book on what you know best, right?
Right. I think many first-time authors use autobiographical material, and I strongly feel there should be a category for that. That's why I invented this term pulp faction, because there are all these authors who've gotten in trouble on Oprah, and because they make up crap. And
that's supposed to be true. Why not just call it what you're saying?
Just call it what it is. It's my first novel, and this is the stuff I know, and I'm making up because life is dull and repetitive and circular, and so we cut that part out, amp up a few things.
But did you go to a writing workshop to know what to do?
I actually pursued an MFA in creative writing.
So that when you did do so you didn't need to do any other workshops?
I did everything there was to do.
Because usually writers are always in workshops and being criticized by...
And they did that constantly through the MFA program. You were always
they do?
Yeah. So I knew that I needed deadlines in order to produce. And so I took this program and ended up with a book-length work, but then I worked on it for a couple more years and had it edited.
And how physically did you write it? On the computer, by hand? Jackie... some people still write with a yellow pad.
I know who you're talking about. Look, and I can't. It won't come to me either. But no, I'm a laptop gal. I took my laptop travel. I went to a lot of those. I did get awarded some of those writer retreats, and in different parts of the world, I'd go to those. I wrote part of it in Costa Rica and Vermont, and Whidbey Island, and then home. I was raising my daughter.
So
at the
you were
time, always on the laptop.
So let's talk about what you, since it's a work of fiction, what you left in and what you left out, or how you put it in and how you took it out, and how important was that to you? Did you feel you were divulging anything if you put something in?
Well, I had just spent a decade keeping secrets. And all the
was it that long, that circle we're talking about? From
the time, it was almost the day of the earthquake in 1989.
Jackie Collins. Jackie Collins. She writes with a yellow pad and handwrites.
And has her staff transcribed.
Yeah, okay. Go on. I'm sorry, but I thought I better plug Jackie.
Yeah. Anyway, so...
from the earthquake time.
Yeah, from the time of the earthquake to 1999, July 1999, when my husband died, I had collected all of these secrets, and also he required that I keep a lot of things a secret. And so it was rather cathartic for me to spill my guts. And a lot of people can't do this. They can't tell the true story because their family's still alive.
Exactly.
And the secrets I was telling were about people who were gone. And believe me, I had some dreams where they popped back, and I don't know if it was my own guilt or, what are you saying? What are you writing in the book?
Yeah.
So.
Well, here we're talking about death, but you
My
did
favorite
have
topic.
a funeral.
I did.
And
I
the
did.
funeral was for all these rejections that you got. You took the book around. Did you have an agent?
I had a great agent, got an agent in New York.
You had a great agent and you got all these rejections?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go on.
And I have to tell you that that a lot of writers feel that 16 rejections puts me in the category of big baby and wimp for throwing in the towel after 16 rejections.
Oh, but maybe that's an award-winning 16 rejections.
So the reason I did it is this book was about a private investigator who fell in love with a criminal attorney who committed a few crimes of his own, and they all end up in the family plot.
Right.
And when the 16th rejection came in, also the publishing industry is going through a complete change and metamorphosis right now. And they're struggling like everyone, print media. So my agent said, you should go to the small presses or self-publish it. And I thought, I don't want to self-publish it. That's like, ew.
I know.
Cheesy.
How did you do that?
Well, when I took a walk in my cemetery, and I was really feeling grievous about the fact that I had 16 rejections, and now my own agent was suggesting I self-publish because she was having trouble placing books in New York at that time because they were all the publishers were going through a hard time. And I realized that my dream of having a mainstream publishing contract was dead. And I'd always imagined the book launch for Family Plots would be in the cemetery. And I thought, this is perfect, actually. My dream is dead. My book's about death, love, death, and tax evasion. I'll have the funeral for my dead dream of mainstream publishing and use it as a publicity stunt and a launch for the book. And that's what I did, and it was
your
wild.
Funeral, how'd you get so many people to the funeral? I saw the clip on the internet. And you had a full house. Was it in a church?
It was as soon as I made the decision to have the funeral, I went to this fantastic historical monument in Oakland called Chapel of the Chimes, where people's remains are buried in books on shelves. So it was perfect.
Gosh.
And they like to have quirky, arty events there. And when I told them about it, I thought, first they asked me, I said, I want to have a funeral, and they asked me the name of the deceased. And I said, well, it's for a book. And they went, oh, no, you're going to have to talk to the special projects people. And I thought, oh, no, special projects, special price. So I went and talked to them, and when I told her, and she said, this is perfect for us. I said, how much? She said, no, we'd like to donate the chapel.
Oh, we want you to do it here
And then
because it was great.
Yeah, and just a lot of people responded to the idea of burying dead dreams.
But who was burying their dead dreams? And show us the invitation while you're telling us.
Oh, I should,
I think that the invitation is incredible. You sent it to the people who rejected you.
I did. I sent, this what I thought was fantastic too. I had these engraved invitations made for my rejectors. Failed Bay Area writer Mary Patrick Kavanaugh requests the honor of your presence as pallbearer. So I invited the New York publishing editors who rejected me to be pallbearers for the event. And then on the reply card, they were allowed to check, unfortunately, I have to reject you again.
Oh.
Or absolutely happy to help you kill the project. Or for the love of God, leave me alone.
And you had this rapper singing, I Feel Good. You had, always look on the bright side.
We had
always
quite
look
an
on
array.
the bright
Yeah,
side.
we had the musical talent. It was much more of a theater production. We had, I should say that none of the New York rejecting agents showed up as pallbearers, but I had a long line of friends willing to do it.
Because the place was packed.
Yeah, they got
And
a lot
who
of
sang
press.
for you?
I had people from my church, and they're all professional singers. And then the young man who did the rapper called Letting Go of the Old to Bring in the New.
He was fabulous.
He wrote that for the funeral. I commissioned that rap, and then at the end when they asked me, I did enter the funeral with my full Jackie O gear and the open casket, and brought the manuscripts and the rejection letters and my copy of The Secret. I don't know if people watch The Secret, but that was,
And they threw
it all away. And then we invited everyone in the chapel to release their dead dreams. And what I allowed them to do, I gave everyone in a program, which Cemetery Mary Dead Dream Currency, where people could let go of the old to make room for the new. And
hold it there for a minute.
If you can see it there.
Yeah, we can.
And then they could circle on the back what they were getting rid of, and that would be anything from stale relationships, family problems, bank accounts, bad investments. A lot of bad investments being dumped.
Oh, they were doing all different kinds of things.
Yeah. People brought things to throw: scarves, books, cards to ex-boyfriends.
So this must have been a huge publicity thing for you.
Oh yeah, it was.
And
great.
did we sell a lot of books?
We sold a lot of books. We sold around 500 books, and yeah, it sold well. It was a great publicity stunt. It was great fun. It was cathartic. I'm actually having another funeral this year, not for my book, but so many people carry some negative dead dream, something that went awry, a relationship, a lot of businesses failing right now.
Well, we thank you for flying in from Oakland and flying back today, and family plots with the secrets. Will we be interested?
Yes.
We
and
will.
Can I get my website address?
I think they can find it without giving it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Okay, great.
And thanks for watching. We'll be right back with Lucie Abdalian. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and I'm back with artist Lucie Abdalian, who was born in Beirut and raised in Montreal. This international woman is now living in San Francisco. She studied music at the Conservatory of Music at McGill University and continued her studies at the Master's College in Santa Clarita, California. I don't see any art training in your background. Did you take art classes?
I did take art classes when I was young. My father was, he was an artist himself, and he was always drawing at home and painting. He did a lot of oil painting at home. All the art we had was his art. So my brother and I were always fascinated by his stuff, and we always want to go and smell the oils, and they have an interesting smell, you know? So I remember when I was in second grade, and he gave me my first canvas, and he said, "Here, you can paint whatever you want to do."
In the second grade?
I was in second grade. It was a weekend.
And were you playing music?
Yes, playing music, doing everything else, you know. I started music when I was 5.
Oh, I
so,
see.
but I always wanted to paint, and I never wanted to play music, ever.
And you were so good at music?
I don't know if I was good, but...
Well, you should be on the stage playing because you took piano for so long, right?
Yeah, I played for a while, you know. I stopped a little bit, you know, because I wanted to concentrate more on painting, and that was my passion, and always I wanted to paint. So one day I just sat down and I said, "That's it, I'm starting, this is what I want to do." I would secretly draw for myself in my diaries and things like that. But then I actually got the guts to get up and just dive myself into it.
Without taking any classes?
Well, it was my father who was constantly training. Like, for instance, when I got that canvas, I painted a volcano with the paint and everything. Next morning I wake up, the volcano was erupted and everything like that. And I went and I go, "Ooh, this is what I painted." But then again, at night, my father had like embellished it and made it all pretty.
Fabulous!
Yeah.
So you had all this kind of feeling in your work. You knew what to put in it.
Exactly, and he was always training me somehow or another, you know, in the background.
That's very interesting because he made sure you went to music school. Was there any music in the family?
Well, my brothers and my sister all took music.
I mean, in your background?
In my
like
background,
them?
my mother was a pianist, so there was always music around and everything like that.
So there was that artistic thing going on,
Yes.
but they weren't playing professionally.
No, not at all, not at all. But I think
But they wanted you to play professionally.
Yes, exactly. They wanted us to become what they never became.
Exactly. So how intense was your music training?
It was, okay, we had to practice an hour and a half a day, or an hour, and if we escaped it that day and we slept, we would be woken up at midnight. "Did you practice your piano?" "No." "Okay, get up, you gotta play. You gotta practice."
Very disciplined.
Very, very disciplined,
But maybe then the art was maybe a looser thing for you.
Yeah.
I mean, like it gave you the freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that it's a different medium. Painting is a different medium in art, you know. Music is a totally different one. You know, it just different ways.
One of the things you do is you make videos.
Yes, art videos.
Art videos. And is that actually part of like this painting sequence?
Yes, it's sort of like, during the videos, it's mostly my philosophy in art, in my painting. For instance, the first video I made was 101 self-portraits, where there's different kind of stages, and it's all reversed until the painting always ended with white. A white
you
facade.
started and you painted it.
I started
right.
and painted it, and like the ending is all black. So, and it's sort of like the philosophy of, how we get older and older. I mean, if you look at the videos, I get older, more wrinkly, and eventually all black, So in life, you just out of the bitterness that you learn and everything, the experiences, the horrible things that happen to you, you get worse and worse. So the video is all reversed, where it turns all to white. So I'm trying to go in myself and trying to cleanse myself from all that, and I don't want to become that old bitterness.
So backwards, right?
So backwards to all purity, where I can completely be perhaps pure and free from myself inside.
Which is good for us all to learn, so that we don't keep that bitterness in it. I think the bitterness makes you old and wrinkly, like you were saying, don't you?
Yeah, and then eventually people see you as black and this horrible woman, and everything like that. So
that's really interesting. How do you describe this beautiful piece is a portrait of me, which I absolutely adore. How do you describe your art?
For instance,
these paintings.
For instance, this portrait of you is I used you as a self-expression of myself, of my mood that day. You were my mask that day. I used you. I used your features.
Because you see yourself in these paintings, and as we go through some of these things, we see Lucie in all of the portraits, right?
So, yeah, basically. But I am using people as a subject, as people who, let's say, fascinate me. When I was painting you, I was watching your profiles, the shows you had online and everything like that. I was really researching you and try to feel who you are and what you are and become you while I'm painting you at the same time. Well, it's me.
Oh, yeah, at the same. Do you do that with everyone?
I do that with everyone mostly.
And is it different to have somebody sit for you?
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Oh, you don't have people sit for you?
No, never. I wouldn't be able to.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'll be too intimidated. For instance, I love spending time. Let's say I did yours. I spent time with you for hours. I could talk to you. I could say anything I want. I could tell you my problems that day or my happiness that day without any intimidation. The fact, that you're there and that you actually are listening. That way, sort of, I'm having some time with you,
But one of the things you said, which surprised me, you said there's a lot of little secret icons in there.
Yes.
So you have to kind of show us. Yes. I see a cross.
Okay. So you do have twins, right?
Yes.
So there's you, and these are your twins, and they're they're women now, right?
Yes.
So they're form of a woman, and they're sort of like right next to you and following you.
I see. And then I see a cross on the mouth, and then you said there's things in the eyes.
Mm-hmm. There's secretness. There's like how people say that the eyes are the windows to your soul. I don't believe really in that. You know why? Because people can actually manipulate that. Let's say actors. How they can manipulate you, and how could like they could cry, but they're very happy. So.
But one of the things you say is you search for that inner solitude of the sitter, and you do it through the eyes, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like if you look at Paloma has a whole life to live. She doesn't have a lot of lines on her face and everything.
Let me show
this.
But
in her eyes, there's a pureness. She wants to know everything. She's like a sponge, ready to just get everything inside in her.
So she has that quality.
Yes.
That is the young part before getting old and crinkly and negative, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for instance, the other art, for instance, that portrait I have of myself, you see how there's so many drips, This one has absolutely no drips,
Yeah, so this one is like part of the trilogy, you said, of me and Lucie.
And then there's another painting right in the back where it's...
and this is what? The drips are depicting what?
A lot of emotion. At that time, there was this painting, and the painting in the back is called Lara Ahad in pink.
This one?
Yes, this one. So notice how we're all looking the same way, and we're actually looking at the same person. It is an imaginary person that actually really exists, but imaginary for the painting. And we're both telling him the same thing. And you here are sort of watching him, that person, at the same time, as a mother hen, how dare you touch my woman? How dare you touch my girls? How dare you? So it has that. Yes, very protective. You know, you're sort of looking at, you know, you touch them, I'm going to kill you guys. You know, so that's.
And then this one is you looking at the same person.
Yes.
And this one
is Lara looking at the same person. We were both going through the same thing at the same time at that moment. I really had to do that.
And when I was also, you don't just do painted portraits.
No.
You do other subjects. What other subjects do you do?
I do a lot of poetry on paintings.
I
did a
see
lot
one
of
right
silk
here.
screen
I'm
long
gonna
time
show.
ago. Yes, there you go.
Is it this way?
Yes, that's the way. It's I've made it with silk screen and. Nothing.
And what's on it?
It's a poetry in French, and it's my friend and my friend's husband who they made in college. We met each other in college, all of us, but they ended up getting married, and I made this as a present for them. And it has a poetry on it. It's French poetry, and it's a beautiful love poem.
So what kind of materials do you use? One of the things was you said video. We call that part of the material. And what else? And with something like this?
With something like this, again, like the silk screen, there's this special ink. I use a lot of, for instance, for this one, I use a lot of epoxy resin where you put on top and it's really, really shiny, almost like glass. I use a lot of real makeup in my
you do?
Something. Yes, exactly. So, like for instance, real eyeliner on your eyes right there. I use a lot of. Am I giving too much secrets?
No, I think it's interesting to to talk about all the different materials you use. You don't just use art materials.
No. I find whatever I try to put in. For instance, I use a lot. I did use some blush, real blush. You know, Chanel number 95.
Very French, and you speak French. So this poetry in France is French is because you speak French.
Exactly. So another one thing I do is vinyls. I do a lot of collage on vinyls where I take pictures, photographs.
Do I have that here? I do.
Individuals, yes, exactly. So I take a vinyl, let's say, of a music that particular person loves.
Is this it? Is this the?
Yes, it. And then in the back, there's, for instance, this particular person is a new artist trying to figure out what kind of art he's into and everything like that. And in the back, there's a certain poetry from Raina Maria Rilke. It's Letters to a Young Poet, and it's an expert from there. So I wrote it from in the background, and I did a little collage of him. When I remember taking.
Did you take his photograph?
I take this photograph when he was at my show at the Venice show.
See.
So that's where I took it.
And then here's a double portrait of a boy. This is very strong.
Yes. This particular person, when I first met him, it was the first time I had met him, and there was this intense energy coming from him. But then I felt like there was so much more to him than what he was showing everybody else. And he was the happening, he was the party of he was the person of the show, you know, almost, you know. But then there was so much more inside of him that he wasn't showing everybody, and I felt like I needed to do this one.
So you saw the two sides of him?
I saw that
there are two sides of him?
Not in a bad way, though. There's a side he protects himself from showing everybody else. And so.
Okay, I'm going to show this one. This is like a split, rather, like a broken egg.
Yes. This person, his name is Rafi Niziblian. He lives in Armenia. He used to be someone who lived in Canada, and he lives there to...
it's very Picasso-ish.
You think so?
Well, because of the broken feeling.
Well, it was so funny because he actually at that moment he felt broken. He's in Armenia, and he's a strong diasporan who lives in Armenia, and who actually embellishes Armenia, and does a lot right now for Armenia, along with his wife. So at those moments, he was a bit crushed or split in half. He doesn't know, you know, because there's a lot of challenges you face once you're a diasporan in Armenia.
But once you take the photograph?
When I was in Armenia last time.
So you took the photograph.
Exactly.
And did you feel that from him, and then you split the photograph? How did you do this?
Well, we're friends, so there's communication back and forth. I see where he goes, what he does, and sometimes his frustrations, you know. So you can feel that. During the photograph, though, we were having a great time. You know, but I told him, can you just sit still for 1 second? You know, sometimes when you look at you try to take someone's photograph, everybody smiles, you know, like, oh, geez.
Exactly, right. Exactly.
But then again, if you tell them, okay, can you do one with no smile and actually capture a moment, you can actually feel people's insecurities, their real emotion at that moment, because they have to like, oh really, am I looking good? Okay.
Because she's gonna
I'm
take
be taking a picture, and then you actually feel what's inside the eyes. You know, all those emotions come out. The true emotions of insecurity, the thinking. All of a sudden, you feel the eyes thinking. You know?
Where do you find your subjects, and what kind of subjects do you look for?
I can walk out and I can walk out if if something hits my nerve at that moment, at that second. It usually is very spontaneous feelings I have. I have my camera with me all the time.
Oh, is that right?
I always try to capture it.
So you don't set up certain kinds of
studio space.
Studio space,
no, never. Oh, that's so boring.
You don't do any of that.
Yeah, that is boring.
Then how do you describe your work? Is there a label to put on it?
If I describe, I think it's, there's this quote I had read that artists paint their paintbrushes in their soul to draw their,
Oh, so you're painting from your soul?
I'm basically painting who I am inside and my emotions and my feelings at that, because I am quite intense.
Yes.
Very intense and sometimes very neurotic at the same time, where I feel like the world is going to end in the next 5 minutes and I have to get everything done, So it's all my intensity that sometimes people can't handle too much. Sometimes I'm too hyper, and they Lucie, you need to calm down a little bit, and it's basically that. But with my art, I feel free because I can actually express my craziness, my inner thoughts, and all my emotions inside on the painting.
But that's not how we're describing it. Well, we could describe it as an intense, emotional art.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay,
perhaps.
Great, and that's it.
Great.
Lucie, you flew down from San Francisco, and we really appreciate your coming to the studio today.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. And email so Lucie can see that you're watching her paintings. JAQUINN1@AOL.com. Bye.